I understand the providential set of circumstances that would allow a little Black girl who grew up on a pig farm in southern Alabama to be standing here today. I grew up in a house with no insulation, no running water. When my grandmother used to ask me to come and help her in the garden, I thought she just wanted to spend quality time with me. I had no idea it was for our survival. I tell my children often, because of the sacrifices of those who have come before us, both white and Black, we have an obligation in this country to live well. That if I am willing to put forth the effort, if I am willing to work, if I am willing to discipline myself, perhaps I won't be Oprah Winfrey or Bill Gates, but that in America, I can carve out a respectable life for myself. Every 4 years, Democrats come to minority communities with a bag full of promises. Free education, universal health care, open borders, guaranteed jobs, guaranteed wages. I have had a front row seat of watching failed liberal policies literally devastate the Black community, that they are now presenting to the broader American culture with the exact same promise to leave all of us broke, broken, and bruised. They will cause me to look at my brown skin as though it has betrayed me in some fashion. I am not a victim. We are victors. If you want to eradicate income inequality, give someone a job, not another program. I believe politics is dirty by design. They intend for good people not to get involved. And for so long, good people like myself and you, we've been sitting on the sidelines. If you want to send good people to Washington, D.C., who will finally begin to represent you and your family, then I need your support. I am running for you to preserve this nation for the next generation. My name is Kathy Barnett, and I am running for U.S. Congress for the 4th Congressional District of Pennsylvania. I am Kathy Barnett, candidate for Congress, and I approve this ad. I understand the providential set of circumstances that would allow a little Black girl who grew up on a pig farm in southern Alabama to be standing here today. I grew up in a house with no insulation, no running water. When my grandmother used to ask me to come and help her in the garden, I thought she just wanted to spend quality time with me. I had no idea it was for our survival. I tell my children often, because of the sacrifices of those who have come before us, both white and Black, we have an obligation in this country to live well. That if I am willing to put forth the effort, if I am willing to work, if I am willing to discipline myself, perhaps I won't be Oprah Winfrey or Bill Gates, but that in America, I can carve out a respectable life for myself. Every 4 years, Democrats come to minority communities with a bag full of promises. Free education, universal health care, open borders, guaranteed jobs, guaranteed wages. I have had a front row seat of watching failed liberal policies literally devastate the Black community, that they are now presenting to the broader American culture with the exact same promise to leave all of us broke, broken, and bruised. They will cause me to look at my brown skin as though it has betrayed me in some fashion. I am not a victim. We are victors. If you want to eradicate income inequality, give someone a job, not another program. I believe politics is dirty by design. They intend for good people not to get involved. And for so long, good people like myself and you, we've been sitting on the sidelines. If you want to send good people to Washington, D.C., who will finally begin to represent you and your family, then I need your support. I am running for you to preserve this nation for the next generation. My name is Kathy Barnett, and I am running for U.S. Congress for the 4th Congressional District of Pennsylvania. I am Kathy Barnett, candidate for Congress, and I approve this ad. I understand the providential set of circumstances that would allow a little Black girl who grew up on a pig farm in southern Alabama to be standing here today. I grew up in a house with no insulation, no running water. When my grandmother used to ask me to come and help her in the garden, I thought she just wanted to spend quality time with me. I had no idea it was for our survival. I tell my children often, because of the sacrifices of those who have come before us, both white and black, we have an obligation in this country to live well. That if I am willing to put forth the effort, if I am willing to work, if I am willing to discipline myself, perhaps I won't be Oprah Winfrey or Bill Gates, but that in America, I can carve out a respectable life for myself. Every 4 years, Democrats come to minority communities with a bag full of promises. Free education, universal health care, open borders, guaranteed jobs, guaranteed wages. I have had a front row seat of watching failed liberal policies literally devastate the Black community, that they are now presenting to the broader American culture with the exact same promise to leave all of us broke, broken, and bruised. They will cause me to look at my brown skin as though it has betrayed me in some fashion. I am not a victim. We are victors. If you want to eradicate income inequality, give someone a job, not another program. I believe politics is dirty by design. They intend for good people not to get involved. And for so long, good people like myself and you, we've been sitting on the sidelines. If you want to send good people to Washington, D.C., who will finally begin to represent you and your family, then I need your support. I am running for you to preserve this nation for the next generation. My name is Kathy Barnett, and I am running for U.S. Congress for the 4th Congressional District of Pennsylvania. I am Kathy Barnett, candidate for Congress, and I approve this ad. I understand the providential set of circumstances that would allow a little Black girl who grew up on a pig farm in southern Alabama to be standing here today. I grew up in a house with no insulation, no running water. When my grandmother used to ask me to come and help her in the garden, I thought she just wanted to spend quality time with me. I had no idea it was for our survival. I tell my children often, because of the sacrifices of those who have come before us, both white and black, we have an obligation in this country to live well. That if I am willing to put forth the effort, if I am willing to work, if I am willing to discipline myself, perhaps I won't be Oprah Winfrey or Bill Gates, but that in America, I can carve out a respectable life for myself. Every 4 years, Democrats come to minority communities with a bag full of promises. Free education, universal health care, open borders, guaranteed jobs, guaranteed wages. I have had a front row seat of watching failed liberal policies literally devastate the Black community, that they are now presenting to the broader American culture with the exact same promise to leave all of us broke, broken, and bruised. They will cause me to look at my brown skin as though it has betrayed me in some fashion. I am not a victim. We are victors. If you want to eradicate income inequality, give someone a job, not another program. I believe politics is dirty by design. They intend for good people not to get involved. And for so long, good people like myself and you, we've been sitting on the sidelines. If you want to send good people to Washington, D.C., who will finally begin to represent you and your family, then I need your support. I am running for you to preserve this nation for the next generation. My name is Kathy Barnett, and I am running for U.S. Congress for the 4th Congressional District of Pennsylvania. I am Kathy Barnett, candidate for Congress, and I approve this ad.
Claiming my time. I'm surprised at your lack of respect for a member of Congress.
The time of the gentlelady has expired.
Guys, yes, the time of the gentle lady has expired. Yes, her time will be expiring come November 3rd. And it is because of everything you guys are doing. I mean, you guys have made this campaign viable, beyond viable, actually. We have so much good news and we will share it in due times. But let me just welcome each and every one of you to our BYOB as we re-examine the shameless bullying that took place just a couple of Mondays ago, 2 Mondays ago, with the top cop, against the top cop of our nation, Attorney General Bill Barr. But, you know, I was just looking at some of the comments you guys were posting here. I mean, you guys are the best. You're already blowing up our Twitter feed or our comment feed. Yeah, Jerk, can I get a real name, please? Jerk Devlin says his incredulous laughter at her was the highlight of the hearing. He and I both laughed. I know. I'm sorry. I played that clip over and over again. And guess what I'm drinking? Coffee. So I can, you see my pinky finger going up, kind of like the Barr sideways glance at her. I mean, you really cannot make this stuff up, what we're experiencing. But also, let me just give a shout out to Earl Meddy. Earl said that he just mailed a check today. Thank you, Earl. We appreciate you. We cannot do this without you. Let me just go ahead and tell everyone right off the bat. After Representative Dean had her horrid behavior on full display for the nation to see, we got over 40,000 donations off of that foolishness in 1 week. Our average donation is roughly $63. So do the math. $63 into $40,000. That means a whole lot of people were upset by that. Go to her Facebook page or her Twitter page. You don't even have to come to mine. People on my page, pretty, you know, I mean, everyone is on their best behavior to a large degree when they come to my page, but go over to her page. Facebook or Twitter, it is reckless. I mean, people have had it. And it was very interesting, but it's you guys who have made this campaign viable. And now those who need to be looking at us are taking a fresh new look at this campaign. And it's all because of you guys. Let me also, Vicky said that her and her family are watching from home, and Pottstown is now live. Let me ask you guys, it has been so amazing. You guys' response to us coming to you on a weekly basis and just sharing our vision, my vision for this nation. It is such the antithesis. My vision is the antithesis of my opponent. If anyone should be debating, it should be my opponent and I. And as of today, she is still refusing to debate me, to come before the constituents of District 4 and to allow our visions for our district, for our nation, to be made plain so that you guys have the opportunity to understand fully. But you guys are so amazing because now there are watch parties popping up all around this district. And right now, Pottstown have come together, a group of people, and they are watching us as a group. Take a picture, Pottstown, so we can put you guys up. Everyone else, if you are watching this with someone else, even if it's your kitty, your cat, your dog, I don't care, your goldfish, do a photo, put it up, and we will make sure that we put that up as well. Okay, I want you guys to see that. Also, I have to say, Albie, Auntie loves you. Love you guys, Albie and Bella. Okay. You guys, I mean, we have so many comments and we will continue with the comments. as we continue on. Yes, Dean is a gift that keeps on giving. And we're going to show a little bit of that because you guys need to know who is representing you. Her behavior is so telling of who she is. I believe that her behavior that we saw a couple of Mondays ago does not reflect who we are in this district. I have been traveling from one end to the other end of this district, and I have met some amazing people, regardless of their party affiliation. I have met some really amazing people. And so I seriously doubt whether you are a Democrat or an independent or a Republican, or you just haven't even registered yet. One, you need to get registered. But two, I honestly believe that her behavior a couple of Mondays ago does not reflect us. But don't listen to me. Let me give you a little bit of a summary. I'm going to show you a little bit of a summary of how the top cop in our nation was treated by members of our Congress.
We've waited a long time for you to come here.
Shame on you, Mr. Barr.
Can I just say, Mr.
Shame on you.
I'm sorry you had to struggle with that one, Mr. Attorney General.
I think you could be forgiven for being confused.
Mr. Attorney General,
I think
reclaiming
that's
my
what I was
time.
talking about.
Reclaiming my time.
I think,
Sir,
on February 10th,
reclaim-
I directed.
reclaiming my time, sir. Reclaiming my time.
I think DHS has put out a rule. I think DHS.
Reclaiming my time. Reclaiming my time, Mr. Barr.
Well, I'm not saying that.
I reclaim my time.
Excuse me,
Protesters in
Mr.
the
Barr, this
federal
is my
government.
time and I control it.
I'm surprised at your lack of respect for a member of Congress.
Thank you, Mr. Barr. That is inaccurate. That's a myth.
It wasn't until this
That's a lie.
administration. It wasn't until.
Claiming my time.
Will you restore my time because this witness isn't speaking over my time?
Please refrain from interrupting me.
Now, I know you don't want to answer.
Would you please answer my question? I don't
Mr.
remember
Barr,
DeMarco
excuse me,
being
this
involved
is
in
my
any of the
time.
decision. You waited to talk to me like this? You didn't need to wait so
When asked
long.
about the use, you know what that is?
I think I did.
I don't know if you do.
You are wrong, Mr. Attorney General.
I'm starting to lose my temper.
You should be impeached. I don't think that's what it said.
Well, that's what it said, sir.
It's funny. A large portion of what we saw, I mean, it is comical. It is also very sad. It loses its humor real quick when you begin to realize that we as American taxpayers paid for that charade. We paid for that staged performance. I know people who are standing in bread lines. I know people who are working in some of those food banks. I know people who have gotten furloughed, fired. I know people who businesses have been shut for good. And then we have this display of foolishness. I mean, it's absolutely horrid. And then to think that a member of Congress who is supposed to represent us, someone I didn't even know she existed when I decided to run, because she has done nothing by way of contacting me, getting to know her constituents, me specifically, and those around me. It's amazing how I travel throughout this district and people ask me, who are you running against? And I'm like, yeah, exactly. That's the problem. Let's go with the next footage here. And we're going to kind of break this down for all of us to see.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good afternoon, Attorney General Barr. I'd like to return and describe or discuss some different issues regarding June 1st and Lafayette Square, where, as you know, peaceful protesters had gathered over days and hours. where, as you know, peaceful protesters had gathered over days and hours to discuss civil rights, to discuss the heinous murder of George Floyd, and to call for equality and justice. When asked about the use of force to
Okay, so let's just break that down for a moment, okay? When peaceful protesters, are there some peaceful protesters in these assemblies? Yes, I don't doubt it. In fact, my family and I, we participated in a couple of the various protests that took place right here in our district. And during the day, yes, those protests were very peaceful. I went to see for myself. Those protests were very peaceful. And I looked into the eyes of so many, specifically the Black people that were there. And I could tell, like me, they too want to have a conversation. And it's a legitimate conversation. It's a legitimate conversation that this nation needs to have about expanding our ability to include others who may be marginalized, including various groups of people into the shared prosperity of this nation. That is a legitimate conversation to have in this country. And then something happens in the evening time as the sun begins to set. We've seen it over and over and over and over again, that what may have started off as peaceful gets taken over. Miraculously, it appears to some people. Some people believe it is very well coordinated, that these peaceful protesters turn violent, and we have seen what they're able to do. We saw it in Seattle, Washington, where several city blocks were commandeered, taken over, lives were lost, businesses destroyed, people harmed, and now we're seeing it again. Right? We saw it. Now we're seeing it again in Portland, Oregon, and we saw it right across the street in Lafayette Park, right across the street from the White House. We also saw what this whole interrogation that our congressmen and women are involved in is around the clearing of Lafayette Park. The day after, I believe, that the Church of the President's Church, was burned down to the ground. So that's the setting of all of this, right? Peaceful protesters is what this is all about. Our congressmen and women want to understand, why is our attorney general hindering peaceful protesters? Carry on.
played in the video against the protesters at Lafayette Square, you stated that your attitude was, quote, get it done. Let's look at what you got done. If you'll take a look at the timeline we have compiled, we see that you were spotted in Lafayette Square at 6:10 p.m. that Monday evening. The president was scheduled to speak in the Rose Garden at 6:15. The park police began to disperse protesters at roughly 6:33. President Trump started his speech at 6:43 and finished at 6:50. So by 7:01, when the president was ready to walk across the street to take a photo in front of St. John's Church, the square was cleared and ready for him to go. Am I correct?
Yes.
The timing is clear. Multiple local officials also confirmed the point of clearing the square. One safety official said it was as if the park police's plan to move the perimeter had been, quote, hurried up when the president needed to walk to church. And just today, Congress heard testimony from Adam DeMarco, a National Guard officer deployed at Lafayette Square, confirming that he expected the square to be cleared after the curfew, after 7 p.m.
I'm sorry, who was that?
Adam DeMarco, National Guard. In the afternoon, I didn't have a question for you, sir. In the afternoon, you told us that you learned of the president's interest in crossing the square to go to the church. Is it your opinion, Mr. Barr, that clearing protesters from Lafayette Square, which local officials were told to hurry up moments before the president's photo op with a borrowed Bible in front of a church, was coincidence? Is this timing coincidence?
I believe it is. Yes, it's not post hoc ergo propter hoc.
No, let it play, and then I want you to pause it.
Is that what you're
Familiar with
saying?
the Latin. In a related matter,
Go back a little
when
bit.
asked about the
Listen,
use
guys,
of
okay?
pepper
Listen
bombs
to this. Well, first of
by-
all, I mean, again, it's just rude, right? Like, shut up. I'm not talking. I'm not talking to you yet. Be quiet. Listen, let me finish. And then she continues on. And what does she continue on with? So she asks him a question. He tries
I
to
believe
explain.
it is. Yes, it's not post hoc ergo propter hoc. Is that what you're
familiar with
saying?
the Latin. In a
Look,
related
I don't
matter,
speak Latin. Shut up.
when asked about the
Again,
use of pepper
stop
bombs
trying to put your big brain on display and let me continue. Please, she
It
continues.
It wasn't a coincidence in this set, if you would permit me, Congresswoman. Okay, as I said, I use the analogy of MacArthur at Leyte Golf.
We heard
Okay,
that. Thank you.
yeah?
I'll reclaim
Okay,
it.
so
Mr. Attorney General,
he couldn't have walked.
said coincidence. Fine. We'll assume that that was all coincidence. In a related
I've
matter,
already
when asked
explained that
about-
it had been planned all
Mr.
day.
Attorney General,
Again, what is the point of having these hearings? That's the question we have to ask ourselves. What is the point of this? Is the point to learn information, or is the point to just drag someone through the mud and say and try to create gotcha moments? I mean, think about where we are as a nation. I was saying to someone earlier today that, I mean, the past 3.5 years, we as an American people, we have experienced one of the greatest economic booms in my lifetime, in my working lifetime, one of the greatest economic boom. Everything was wonderful. If you wanted a job, by golly, you could get a job, and not just any kind of job, but people were getting real good jobs. And when you look at, for example, unemployment in the Black community, during those first 3.5 years of President Trump's administration, not only was the unemployment number decreasing, but even the spread between white unemployment and Black unemployment was decreasing for the first time in recorded history. That goes to the decreasing of income inequality, right? There was a spread between white unemployment, Black unemployment, and for the first time in history, U.S. history, recorded history, it was decreasing. We were firing on all cylinders. We had just got China to commit to a trade deal that was that would just bring in, it would turn the table, and how China has been able to rip us off for decades now. Our response to the Middle East, us becoming energy independent, we were firing as a nation on all cylinders. But every day for the past 3.5 years, Democrats have come to us with one wild-eyed accusation after another. They have literally dragged us through the mud as a nation. When we wanted to be happy, they told us, no, you can't be happy. We have this person in office. He's not our president. We all need to be angry. We need to all put on these pink caps, run around, and just scream at the moon, right? We had grown people screaming into the air. That's how much we were experiencing the best economic times of our lives, right? People were healthy, people were well, we were firing on all cylinders. Then COVID hits. People are losing their jobs. Now we have a reason to be mad. Now we have a reason to be angry, to be psychologically depressed and everything, right? When we had a moment to be happy, they didn't want us to be happy. They just wanted to gin up one issue after another issue, drag not just the president, but this nation through one investigation after another investigation. We got them, knowing they had no information at all. And that is coming out and becoming more and more clear today that they never had anything of substance, and they should have never dragged us through the mud as they did for those past 3.5 years. Now we find ourselves in COVID. When we had an opportunity to be happy, they told us not to be. And in fact, they made sure we were just bombarded on a daily basis. Now we're actually going through some real things. We have lost almost the entire $11 trillion of wealth this nation was able to accumulate in those past 3.5 years, right? People have lost their homes. People have lost their jobs. People have lost their loved ones. People weren't able to go and bury their loved ones. Now we're talking about not being able to send our kids back to school. The untold psychological impact this is going to have on our nation, as well as our lives and our economy. And what is are our members of Congress presenting us with? More foolish hearings and interrogations, more dragging, not just President Trump and his administration through the mud, but us as well. Do they not believe? Do they not know that we have enough issues? Do they not realize that? Why are they doing this? Continue on, please.
The time is mine. We've waited a long time for you to come here. The time is mine.
You waited to talk to me like this? You didn't need to wait
When
so
asked
long.
about the use of pepper bombs fired at Americans in Lafayette Square, you said, quote, "No, there were no chemical irritants. Pepper spray is not a chemical irritant. It's not chemical," quote.
Well, everything is chemical. I was referring to a dichotomy,
Actually,
in these kinds of things between
Mr.
chemical
Attorney General,
compounds and naturally occurring
Mr.
substances.
Attorney General, reclaiming my time. There are rules by which we operate here. I would ask you to respect them. Take a look at the screen. I've placed on this screen for reference, as you are aware, how your department describes pepper balls used on Americans in Lafayette Square. A 2009 Justice report noted that the pepper ball, quote, "system's accuracy and accompanying blunt trauma impact made it an ideal chemical dispensing system." So while you, in a quote, said it's not chemical, you today confirm it is chemical, and you're aware of your department's policy, are you not?
What policy?
The one I've just
No, keep her face up there. The one I, can someone pass her a brush? Brush her hair in the process of all of this. But look at the face. There is no policy. There is no policy. Make it big again. Vico, go back to that screen. Take a snapshot of this, guys. If you're on your phone, take a snapshot, read it. There is no policy. What these people are trying to do is create a gotcha moment because they don't really care about the answers. In fact, they've already rehearsed, as you saw, that they will, every time he tries to answer, they will try to goad him into being a hostile witness. They have no intentions of listening to an answer. They had already staged and planned that if he tries to respond, we will stop him and say, "Reclaiming my time. I didn't ask you a question. Reclaiming my time." They never intended. Do you have it? Can you go back so they can see? Okay, guys, go out there and Google it. Go out there and Google it. There is no policy. There is no policy that was there. And so Barr rightly asked, because he has a big brain, right? So he could quickly realize, well, there is no policy there. What do you want me to agree or not agree to? And then he says, where's the policy? Can you go back a little bit so they can see that? I'm gonna let you guys watch it. Oh, there it is. Take a snapshot. There is no policy there. Go ahead.
So while you, in a quote, said it's not chemical, you today confirm it is chemical, and you're aware of your department's policy, are you not?
What policy?
The one I've just provided to you.
What does it say? What's the policy?
Well, I showed it to you. Finally, whether or not you authorized it at the time. Perhaps you weren't listening.
I didn't see the policy. What was the policy
Clearly
in
you weren't
there?
listening. Fine. Whether or not you authorized the use of pepper balls. What? I did not ask you a question yet, sir.
What?
You can't make this stuff up. I mean, you can't make this stuff. Who does she think she's talking to? She is a one-term Congresswoman. And she only won because she rode in on the heights of the Me Too movement. Ask Tara Reid to come and talk to her about the Me Too movement right about now. All of a sudden, the woman ain't correct, right? What was that catchphrase? They just believe the woman. Remember? Senator Hirono for Hawaii said, men shut up and just believe the woman. Well, now you have a woman and Tara Reid saying, well, Joe Biden accosted me. Not only did he, he seriously violated her. I won't even go into the details of that. Google it if you want to. And now all of a sudden, Dean, as well as others, want to see the information. But can you imagine this? Who does she think she's talking to? She's walking around here acting like the Queen of Sheba. Who is she talking to? I don't even talk to my children that way. I don't talk to anyone that way. What kind of person do you have to be able to talk to someone who has devoted their lives to serving this nation in such a manner? Continue on, please.
I ask you to please refrain from interrupting me. We watched horrifying videos played across the news and social media showing that these chemical irritants were used on protesters. So yes or no, and this is a yes or no, sir, have you begun an investigation of the use of excessive force in Lafayette Square?
I think the IG is looking at everything related to, the anti-rioting.
So the answer is yes, you are investigating.
The IG
By way
is
of an
investigating it.
I will hope that he does not get fired. Tragically, what happened in Lafayette Square is no longer an isolated incident. Use of chemical irritants.
Hey,
has
put
been-
up a question by Ultra Little. What does that have to do with Pennsylvania? Ding, 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 ding. Exactly. I don't know your real name, Ultra Little, but exactly. What does all of this have to do with District 4? I don't know if my team can pull it up right now, but let me ask you guys. So you can, if you don't know, you can, I always say Google, because that's what we do today. Is that up on the screen? Not my team, but I want you guys to go. Do you guys know what the 5 rights are in the First Amendment? Don't put it up yet, team. But do you guys know what the 5 rights are in the First Amendment? I'm going to give you a moment to look that up, and then I want my team to interject that in at some point. But Ultra Little has the most profound question of all. What does any of this that we're seeing has to do with District 4? The answer is very little, if anything at all. Are we ready to continue? Very little, if anything at all. Does any of this have to do with District 4? Did you guys put up the thing? Don't put it up. The rights. We're gonna get it together. Do you guys know what the 5 rights are? Do you know? Okay. Because let me tell you what they are. You ready? Let me see if anyone has said. Do you guys? Oh, wait, Ultra Little. Oh, there you go. Freedom of press, freedom of speech, assembly, religion, one more, petition, right? So the 5, now this is the First Amendment, right? Everyone walks around talking about the First Amendment, the First Amendment, the First Amendment. And really do people understand the components of the First Amendment? Because Dean is up here trying to defend the First Amendment. But all she's talking about is the right to protest, or the right to assemble, or the right of association for people to get together and to protest, to make their grievances known, right? So you would think that the First Amendment is only comprised of the right to protest, but it's not. Guess what else is a part of the First Amendment? Freedom of religion. How many churches are shut down right now? How many churches are being told when they can meet, how many people can meet in there? Remember during the height of COVID, even those who said we will just drive, like we will do a drive-in church. We will stay in our cars and we will, the pastor will feed in the message through our radio and we will just sit in our individual car. Do you remember what Democrats all throughout our nation was telling these particular people during the middle of COVID? They said, I'll never forget it, that they were going to send health workers out to write down to take down their license plates and then send someone to their home. Yeah. So not only is the only one that we really hear about lately of the five is freedom of the freedom of assembly, which would be protesting, and the press, right? Because God forbid someone tells someone, a member of the press, not to come into a particular room. All of a sudden, they talk about the First Amendment right, although the press has been the most derelict in their duties, right? The press was given this monumental right in order to keep the rest of us from being fooled and manipulated. And now those in power in politics have just now kind of commandeered media as an extension of their own personal agenda. And the media is being used willingly to just manipulate the masses. But I thought it was very interesting that they're holding this hearing because they're so concerned. Dean, my opponent, is so concerned about the First Amendment. Well, guess what, Dean? That the Dean of Decency, is that one of her nicknames? She was going to bring decency to DC. Does anything we just saw here reflect decency? I mean, honestly, guys, answer me. Did anyone see anything in her behavior that was decent? What? Holding up the finger to shush someone? I don't even do that to my kids. It's so disrespectful. It's so disrespectful. And holding up your hand, right? I mean, you can't even call these behaviors ignorance, because ignorance simply means a lack of knowledge. This is stupidity. I mean, it's just downright stupid. It's arrogance as well. It's arrogance on full display, that these people believe that they can take our vote, and instead of representing us, they go to DC and represent Nancy Pelosi. And that is what my opponent is, a bobblehead for Nancy Pelosi. She just like, whatever Nancy Pelosi says, she just, okay, well, that's what I do. I just do that. All of this is very contrived. So yes, continue on, guys.
In more than 90 cities. My colleague showed you the video of the Navy vet being pepper sprayed and beaten, his bones broken. Whether or not you thought this was appropriate at the time, have you now called for law enforcement to stop using these chemical irritants on protesters? Yes or no?
Pepper spray?
Yes.
No.
No?
I think it's a very important non-lethal option.
For protesters?
No,
Sir,
for rioters.
That was my question. For protesters?
No, for rioters.
Yes. Sir, America was founded on the principles of free speech.
When
Wow. America was founded on free speech. I don't know what else she was going to say. Really? I mean, what do you say to all of that? Because we just talked about the 5 rights in the First Amendment. America was also founded on my ability to freely express my religion. We have people, places being told that they can't even sing in church. God forbid they sing or send out a shout of praise. We know what Jesus said. You withhold your praise, I'll make these rocks shout out, right? But no, not with these. Why is she not defending our right to go to church? Here's one. Why is she not talking to the top cop in our nation about how do we make our streets safe again so that businesses can open up? I remember I was reminded about Colin Powell once saying that capital is, what was it? Capital is scared, is a fraidy cat. I can't remember how he said it, but that it will not flow where there is havoc, mayhem, violence. Capital lacks courage. It only flows where there is safety. And all across our nation, whether it was just a couple of months ago and businesses were being rioted and looted, or even today where businesses are being closed down, in large part, I believe, because of these riots. My opponent, Representative Dean, was not wearing a mask at one of the rallies that she attended, and I happened to be there as well. She was not practicing social distancing. There were a number of people who were not practicing social distancing. It's pretty difficult to practice social distancing when you have 100, 1,000, 2,000 people marching down the street. You have someone on a megaphone screaming and spitting everywhere, whatever their taglines are, and you have people doing the refrain. They say it and then they chant it behind them. It's very difficult to practice social distancing and to have a mask on and not get overheated and to do all of those things. And because of that, we still have businesses that have some pretty authoritarian restrictions on them. Can you continue on, guys?
When people resist law enforcement, they're not peaceful.
Reclaiming my time. I'm surprised at your lack of respect for a member of Congress.
The time of the gentlelady has expired.
You see that look? The time of the gentlelady has expired. Okay, now quickly, let's just turn to all of these staged. See, what you guys need to understand is that this was orchestrated, right? There was nothing in this hearing that was organic and natural. As you saw the clips, the montage of clips of the Democrats saying, reclaiming my time, don't interrupt me, wait a minute, I didn't ask you a question, and just being very aggressive with the Attorney General. At one point, he asked to go use the restroom. He asked for 5 minutes to go use the restroom, and Nadler said no. Think about that. He asked for 5 minutes, and Nadler said no. And I think Nadler was like an hour and a half late showing up, and because I think an accident maybe, and the Attorney General was very gracious about that, right? Because things happen out of our control, kind of like having to go to the restroom. And he asked for 5 minutes, and they told the Attorney General of our nation, who represents us as well, no, right? And then after this mockery of an interrogation, then Madeline Dean had all of these press briefings lined up, right? Because this was going to be her moment. Unfortunately, it imploded on her because she looked stupid. We look stupid that we would elect such a person with no decency to represent us. That's a reflection on Montgomery County, on District 4. So then she goes on with these canned interviews. Okay, let it rip.
You saw his affect yesterday. He was disrespectful, spoke over top of everyone
No,
else.
he didn't.
In particular, he spoke over women. He was flanked by at least 10 staffers, not a person of color among them.
Okay, pause.
And he could.
Not a person of color among them. That was one of the talking points. He had 9 staffers, not a person of color among them. Because what Democrats need is to trot out little black faces in order to prove that, oh yeah, we know black people too, right? That's a part of it. Because what number would have given them ease if 4 out of the 9 were black? What about 5? 7? Would 7 be good enough? At what point would be good enough? Yes, inclusion, minority inclusion, finding ways to make sure those who are underrepresented and marginalized are included in the shared prosperity of this nation is a legitimate conversation to have, right? That's a legitimate conversation to have. But when you have someone who wears a Black Lives Matter t-shirt and suddenly thinks she's woke, suddenly think she knows what it means to be black, or suddenly think she can tell me, you know, how I should feel and think and vote and believe. Well, here's my response to you, Madeline Dean. Here's my response to you. If you're so woke and if you believe that it's all about getting a black face somewhere included, then here I am. I am the first black person to run for Congress in Montgomery County. Why don't you step down and let me take your position? That's my challenge to you. If you're so woke, if you're such a believer that it is all about inclusion at any price, we just need to see more black faces, then Madeline Dean, here am I. And my challenge to you is to step down and allow this county to be represented by the first black person to ever run for Congress. You're woke. I mean, you have a shirt that says you're woke. You have a shirt that says my Black Life Matter. So instead of trying to intimidate me, which she is on the record of trying to do, guys, she's so woke. She loves black people that she is out here trying to intimidate me. Go to my Facebook page. Go to Montgomery County Republican Facebook page, and you will see Dean hiring people to put out signs in front of one of my events where I was attending, trying to intimidate me. She's so woke. She loves black people. She wants to see black people being included into the conversation of this nation. Here I am, Dean, and I am ready to actually represent the 4th District of Pennsylvania. I want to get to this Biden thing.
He couldn't identify that we have systemic racism in this country.
Okay, Dean.
Maybe that's because he's living in a bubble.
Okay, Dean. In a bubble. Let's just talk about the bubble of Montgomery County. 10% of Montgomery County is made up of black people, 8% Hispanics, 5% Asian. Over 80% of Montgomery County is white. That's the bubble, Dean. That's the bubble. And where do you live exactly? In a very wealthy community, home value over $1 million. That's the bubble, Dean. Guys, we can do better than this. I'm not speaking out of turn. This is my nation. I spent 10 years in the military, and before I graduated from boot camp, I decided that if I was called to lay my life down for my nation, I would. But I took the time to learn the good, the bad, the ugly about this nation. And I said to myself that if I was called to lay down my life, then I would. But not for this foolishness. Not for this pandering of the color of my skin. Using the color of my skin to win elections. Using the color of my skin to garner up, soak up as much power and control as they can. Using the history of this nation of slavery to tear my country down. I have the blood of slaves coursing through my veins on both sides of my family. It is not a light conversation for me. It is a very real conversation for me to have about the despicable things that took place in this country, but also not being able to recognize how far we've come as a nation. It's dishonest to try to get me to believe that race relations has not changed since 1619, 1776, 1863, or 1964. It's dishonest to try to make me as a black woman walk around feeling as though I'm a victim, instead of allowing me to live as I am. I am a victor, and I stand on the shoulders of giants. I stand on the shoulders of some mighty people who have done and have endured some horrible things in order that I, a black woman growing up on a pig farm in Southern Alabama, can be able to run for Congress. I mean, guys, that's a lineage right there. And I believe that the best thing I can do is live an honorable life I'm obligated, actually. I feel obligated to live an honorable life because of the sacrifices of the men and women who have come before us, and of that of my great-great-great-grandma Rhoda, who was born a slave. I feel obligated to live well. And when I want to live well, I pivot and I turn, and I see these white liberals pandering to Black people, wearing their little Black Lives Matter t-shirt, acting like they're woke. If you're so woke, and if you really believe that now is the time for Black people to be included in the conversation of this nation, Representative Dean, then I ask you to step down and to allow me, a Black woman, to run and to win this seat. That is what I ask of you. Okay. I have another guest here. Are we queued up? Is Dasha there? Okay. I think we're holding on. Dasha will be with us in a moment. I'm gonna let this play.
The way he approached Congress, the way he approached our committee, his willingness to say one thing and in a single statement flip his own answer. He did that with me. When I said, do you believe it's ever appropriate to use pepper balls against protesters? He said, no. And then he wanted to flip back and he said, well, wait a second. Well, rioters, yes. He could not keep a straight answer.
Oh my goodness. I did not know my team was going to put that in there. But essentially, right? I think we have Dasha on. Dasha, are you there?
I am there. Hi, Kathy. Thank you so much. What an honor to be there with you. You are such a fighter, and you are such a powerhouse. It's amazing. And I'm so honored to have, you know, this energy going with you to fight for our Pennsylvania and to win our people, you know, get them back into reality of what is going on, because people are scared. People are really, really scared. And you're educating and you are doing amazing things. And thank you so much.
Well, you are as well, Dasha. Dasha Pruett. Dasha, tell people who you are and what it is that you are doing as well.
So I immigrated from a communist socialist Russia, and in 1980, I was a child, but I still have incredible, I didn't realize until recently with this whole pandemic thing that was going on, that I'm actually have post-traumatic stress disorder growing up in a communist socialist country. And, you know, I'm looking at every day, I say to my husband, I say, you know what? I think we hit the lowest of the low. And every day we seem to be able to reach the lower low. And watching, like, as the Barr hearings, you know what? This was so disgusting because I'm running against Mary J Scanlon, and Mary J Scanlon and Madeline Dean tend to be little best buds, and they, you know, they do things together, and they go into the Berks County Detention Center to make sure that the illegal immigrants have all the stuff that they need, yet they forget their own communities. They don't go there.
Dasha. So let me show people what it is that you're talking about, because I already spent several moments talking about Madeline Dean's horrid and canned stage performance 2 Mondays ago. Let's take a look at Mary J Scanlon for a moment, her performance at that same hearing.
Gentleman yields back. Ms. Scanlon.
Attorney General Barr, I wanted to follow up on some questions from one of my colleagues. You testified earlier that you have at times voted by mail. Is that correct?
I remember, I think, once voting by mail.
So if public records show you voted by mail in 2012 and 2019, agree with that?
I think, you know, I can't really remember the details.
Okay.
I think on one occasion I had to go to a station and
Okay.
vote
You did
before
at
the
least
election.
once, vote
I
by
think in
mail.
another one I voted
reclaiming
by
my
mail.
time, sir.
Yeah.
I raise this because in May of this year, 800 public health experts from across the nation sent a letter urging Congress to, quote, prepare for a presidential election by mail to allow Americans to vote from home and assure their health and safety. You're aware that health experts have emphasized that voting by mail is critical to protect public health in this upcoming election, correct?
When was that?
In May of this year. If you're not aware of it, I can provide
Okay,
this to
I'd be interested in
your
seeing.
staff.
Yeah.
Great, I have an extra copy for you. So that public health advice is really important to citizens in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania because we have a large population of seniors who are at higher risk for the coronavirus. They shouldn't have to choose between risking their lives and exercising their right to vote. But the problem we're facing is that the president has repeatedly sought to cast doubt on the security of mail-in ballots, saying that the 2020 election could be rigged with, quote, millions of mail-in ballots printed by foreign countries, end quote. And you, sir, have repeated this disinformation.
Well, it's not
Far-
disinformation.
I don't have a question for you yet. Here it comes, though. Last month, you echoed the president's conspiracy theory when you suggested in at least 3 interviews that, quote, foreign countries could manufacture counterfeit ballots, end quote, to influence the presidential election, correct? You did that in at least 3 interviews?
Yes.
Okay. But in fact, you have no evidence that foreign countries can successfully sway our elections with counterfeit ballots, do you?
No, I don't, but I have common
Okay.
sense.
Okay, well, and that's what you responded when you were directly challenged on that. You said, no, you didn't have evidence, but it was obvious. According to state election officials, your alleged concerns here are not obvious, but in fact are outrageous. Every state in the union has absentee ballots. 2/3 of the states allow for vote by mail
Okay. It's so boring. She's just going on and on, Dasha. But that is your representative.
I know, isn't she amazing? Like she's just a blessing over here. You know, when she wants to talk about mail-in by mail, not having any issues, it took our county 6 weeks to count the ballots. People were getting ballots who were registered Republicans that were getting Democratic ballots. People who we actually personally filed for our mail-in ballot on April 4th. I believe I received mine May 31st or somewhere around there. So if she's talking about not having a problem with this, then she is so removed and she is not aware of anything that's going on. People were not trained. There were ballots that were actually left outside of the precincts of the voting precincts just for anybody to take. So for her to make this a subject, she needed to do a little bit better research because this was, I have to think of a better word, but it was an S show. I'll stop at that. It was so bad that people, it took them forever to count. And here we are, and we are going to be facing one of the most important elections in our lifetime.
And we could not be more different as parties, right? And I often say I am not lumping all Democrats into the leftist bucket. What I'm saying is that the left has taken over your Democratic Party. And you may be going out voting Democrat and, you think you're still, classic Kennedy Democrat, but your party has been taken over by a very radical leftist group. So when you vote, you are in fact voting for these leftist, socialist, Marxist individuals with that kind of ideology that they intend to bring to bear on this country.
Absolutely. And you know what?
It's also interesting, Dasha, that this is how your life kind of, weave into this because you escaped such a country, such an ideology.
As Rich and I say, here's a Russian immigrant who escaped communism, socialism, is running to fight for America. And here we have a woman who is an American born trying to turn us into a communist Russia. And it is the scariest thing. If anybody wants to hear about the communist Russia and growing up on that, I'm glad they stocked up on toilet paper because it's going to be a luxury item.
Oh, my
Bananas
goodness.
are going to be a luxury item.
Dasha, tell people how they can reach out to you.
You can contact me as dashaforcongress.com or on Facebook as Dasha for Congress. I have a page and a group. Reach out. We are always available. We want to talk to you, and we want to make sure that we help our communities. Kathy, like you are an amazing woman who is fighting for this district and for our country. You've been fighting for it since the day you entered Earth. And it's the same thing for us. And you know what? I honestly believe that united, we can make these difference, because whether you're a Democrat, independent, or Republican, we all face the same issues. And we're fighting for the people, not for the party, but for the people.
Yeah, you know, Dasha, I often say to people that I am your best chance at ever getting anyone in office who will actually represent you. My opponent, Representative Dean, she has taken since 2019 over $498,000 from PACs. I have only taken 3 donations from PACs, totaling $4,000. Who owns who? Who owns who? I mean, it's a very simple question. $498,000. Who owns who? And that is something, I mean, we can just do so much better as a nation, as a district specifically. Dasha, thank you so much for
Thank you, Kathy. God bless you, sweetheart. You're awesome.
You are too, Dasha. Thank you so much for coming. Guys, how much time do we have? Oh my goodness, we just hit... We're almost over. I so wanted. Oh my goodness, put it back up again. Any minute. There it is. Make it bigger. You can take me off screen. Look, that is a watch party out in Pottstown. Hey, Pottstown. You guys rock, and I appreciate you so much. Going forward, guys, send us your pictures by going to where? Just go to kathybarnettforcongress.com. kathybarnettforcongress.com. You can subscribe there. You can also send us your photos. You can also go to our Facebook page at Kathy Barnett for Congress PA4. Kathy Barnett for Congress PA4. Take a quick picture of you and your family or you and your group who's going to be doing a watch party, and we will post it. I want to litter this because I get so many of you guys who are saying, I watch your BYOB with this person or that person, or with my children or with my cat. So take a photo, send it to us. We will put it up. I want people to see who you are. And I appreciate you guys so much. Is there a comment that we wanted to highlight? I saw a comment up. As a woman, you know what, Patricia, I agree, right? Patricia Lefson said, as a woman, I can say this. Dean and her fellow women in Congress should stop talking about their treatment as women. Equality means you don't get treated differently. Look at that. Suck it up and stop whining about being treated as a woman. Right. Listen, I believe I am the best candidate for a whole plethora of reasons. Again, you can go to kathybarnettforcongress.com. You can look at my position on various policy issues. The number one reason why I believe I should be your candidate is because I love this nation. I love this nation. I would have laid my life down for this nation. I want to see every single person thrive. And that is the lens through which I will look at every single bill, proposal, ideology, opportunity, no matter what. Everything that happens, it will be done through those two particular lenses. I love this country and I want to see everyone thrive, not just Republicans, because my opponent spends very little time over here with the Republican Party. I will represent all of you. You will have my ear, and I will represent every single one of you. I am pleading because my nation, our nation, is in trouble. It is time out for politics as usual. It is time for us to seriously consider the people we are sending to Washington, D.C. One of our problems in this nation is that we have too many Ivy League graduates and trust fund babies running this nation. We need more Joe the Plumbers and little black girls who grew up on pig farms, who actually understand what it takes to build a life. We need people who understand what it means to have built a life from scratch, running this nation, so that when problems come, when issues come, we don't immediately run to, go through the shelf and pull out whatever narrative that works. I am not perfect. I have never declared to be perfect. One thing I can tell you is that I love this country. I love the people of this nation. I know we are all different. I am not your typical Republican or what you may think is your typical Republican. I love this country. There are some policies we need to get serious about. I am reading about the new China and Iran agreement. This is going to have huge ramifications. What China is doing over in the South China Seas will have huge ramifications. We won't even talk about the number of humanitarian violations that are going on right now. And all we're doing, they got us focused on our feet. They got us focused on tearing down statues. Listen, minority inclusion is a legitimate conversation. Again, go to Kathy Barnett forcongress.com. I've written it all up. One of my first acts, and when it comes to, we call it MIA, not missing in action, because what's really missing in action is greater inclusion of marginalized people, of minorities into the shared prosperity of this nation. That's a legitimate conversation that I will be having all day and night when I get to Congress. But guys, I do not believe this nation is rotten at its core. There is so much good. There is so much good. Here's my last request before we leave. To all of the Democrats who are watching, liberals need not apply. But to all the Democrats that are watching and to my independent friends, please go to kathybarnettforcongress.com and let us know that you will host a meet and greet. Just as easy as that. I want to come. I want to meet you. I want to talk with you. I want you to ask questions. I want to be able to have a conversation with you, a dialogue, so that you can understand who I am and what it is I intend to do. Now is not the time to say, to play politics. I'm a vote Democrat because my mama's mama was a Democrat. Well, my mama's mama was a slave, but I'm not walking around here acting like a slave. Okay? Time moves forward, and it's time for each and every one of us to recognize that the Democrat Party has left the overwhelming majority of you. You haven't changed, but your party has. And it's time for you to take a real hard look at what it is that they are offering and their vision for America. Stop with the whole pandering of, wearing Black Lives Matter t-shirts, living in a $1.5 million home, husband doing all kind of shenanigans over there in China, going to Washington, D.C. and not doing anything that actually makes District 4 better, instead embarrassing us. So again, to my Democrat and independent friends, as well as my Republican friends, we need more meet and greets. I'm littered with them. I love it, but I want to meet more of you. When November 3rd comes, I'm leaving. I intend to leave nothing on the table, no rock unturned, but I need your help in that, okay? So do that, as well as you can go to our Facebook page and just shoot us a message, DM us that you want to host a meet and greet. For the other Republicans who want to have this conversation about politics with your family, but you find it a little difficult and awkward, downright, chaotic to have, allow me to do the heavy lifting for you. Invite your family and your friends, and I will talk to them myself. Okay? Okay, guys. Blessings. Take care. You guys are so great. So much. So many comments. I mean, just so many comments here. You guys are just absolutely wonderful. Yes, Art, thank you. You are not voting for me because I'm Black or a woman. Thank you, right? Because there is actually more to me than just the color of my skin. There's a whole story, right? Not only am I Black, not only am I a woman, but I'm a mother. I'm a veteran. There is so much about me, not just the color of my skin, but to people like Representative Dean, who would love to pander and drag the Attorney General under the bus by not having more Black people, more minorities on his staff sitting next to him, then if inclusion is so important to you, and that is what it's all about, then hey, here am I, the first Black person to run for Congress in Montgomery County. As far as I know, and the people I asked, they can't think of another one. And not just on the Republican side, Democrat side as well. I am the first Black person to ever run for Congress, either as a Democrat or Republican. So there you have it. If that is as deep as your thinking goes, then vote for me. And Madeline Dean, step down. Okay, let me see. Please mention Berks County. Love you. And when you say bye, okay, listen, it's so much. Bye. Talk to you guys later.
Thank you. Can I, before we start, hey, all the kids, you want to come up here and listen? Come on up here. Come up behind me. Come on. My name's Joe Biden, Vice President Biden. Everybody come on up and stand with me. And folks, when...
Okay, guys, I know. He's about to talk about corn pop. Oh, my goodness. How stupid. How really stupid. Did you guys notice how he didn't have any little Black faces behind him? And then he says, hey, little Black people, I need some Black faces behind me. I need some token Blacks. Okay, see? Okay, now we can begin. Action. I got Black folks behind me. So now everybody will see that I'm woke and I love Black people, right? It's so stupid. It's so offensive. It's such pandering. What you need to remember is that Madeline Dean says she's riding with this. I mean, like a biblical definition of a fool. I mean, look it up in the Bible. I mean, I don't know if it's dementia. I don't know if this is just who he is. But I mean, I want y'all to listen to this, okay? As he talks about corn pop, this is his definition. I mean, this is his attempt to say, I'm down with Black people. I know Black people, right? So this is what this whole little skit here is his attempt to say, I'm one of you. I've been around Black people all my life. Black folks, look, all the little Black faces behind me. And then he started talking about some weird guy named Corn Pop. And then he talks about little Black kids rubbing the hair on his legs. Let me tell you, as a mama, if I saw my children rubbing the hair on some man's leg, we will be having problems. Yes, I'll probably be in jail, but we'll be having problems, right? And then he ends up talking about roaches. So this is the one Madeline Dean, my opponent, is saying she's riding with. Not only do we have Tara Reid, who said he accosted her in one of the worst ways, but he's sitting up here. I mean, the racist things he said already saying Latinos are more diverse in thought than Black people, or that if I don't vote for him, then I'm not Black. And now you got little Black children rubbing the hair on a grown man's leg, and then somehow roaches jump into the conversation in his attempt to explain how he's down with Black people. Okay, I just had to give that summary. There y'all go. Bye.
It's a whole 100 years ago, but I was a senior in high school. And I realized I lived in a neighborhood where I'd turn on the television and I'd see and listen to Dr. King and others. But I didn't know any Black people. No, I really didn't. You didn't know any white people either. That's the truth. And they'd ask me questions about everything. I mean, things that just startled me. I remember one time, I won't mention which lifeguard, said, "Do I have a jerry can, a 5-gallon can for gasoline?" And I said, "No, I don't." I said, "But what do you need it for?" He said, we're going down to see my grandmama in North Carolina. We can't stop at most gas stations. They won't let us stop at most gas stations. I learned a lot. And I learned that it makes a difference. This was the diving board area, and I was one of the guards, and there weren't allowed to, there was a 3-meter board. And you fell off sideways, you landed on the darn cement over there. And Corn Pop was a bad dude. And he ran a bunch of bad boys. And I did. And back in those days, to show how things have changed, one of the things you had to use, if you used pomade in your hair, you had to wear a bathing cap. And so he was up on the board, wouldn't listen to me. I said, "Hey, Esther, you, off the board, or I'll come up and drag you off." Well, he came off. And he said, "I'll meet you outside." My car, these were all public housing behind it. My car, there was a gate out here. I parked my car outside the gate. And he said, "I'll be waiting for you." He was waiting for 3 guys in straight razors. Not a joke. There was a guy named Bill Wright, Mouse, the only white guy, and he did all the pools. He was the mechanic. And I said, "What am I going to do?" He said, "Come down here in the basement where mechanics, where all the pool filter is. You know, the chain, there used to be a chain that went across the deep end. And he cut off a 6-foot length of chain. He folded up. He said, "You walk out with that chain. And you walk to the car and say, 'You may cut me, man, but I'm going to wrap this chain around your head.'" I said, "You kidding me?" He said, "No, if you don't come back." And he was right. So I walked out with the chain. And I walked up to my car. And they had, in those days, you used to remember the straight razor. You'd bang them on the curb, get them rusty, put them in a rain barrel, get them rusty. And I looked at him, but I was smart then. I said, "First of all," I said, "when I tell you to get off the board, you get off the board, and I'll kick you out again. But I shouldn't have called you Esther Williams. I apologize for that. I apologize, but I didn't know that apology was going to work." He said, "You apologize to me?" I said, "I apologize for that, not for throwing you out, but I apologize for what I said." He said, "Okay," closed the straight razor, and my heart began to beat again. And by the way, you know, I sit on the stand and it get hot. I got hairy legs that turn turn blonde in the sun. And the kids used to come up and reach in the pool and rub my leg down so it was straight, and then watch the hair come back up again. They'd look at it. So I learned about roaches. I learned about kids jumping on my lap. And I've loved kids jumping on my lap.